It's a scam we've either almost or absolutely have fallen for. A loved one contacts us via email or text claiming to be stranded somewhere, needing money, or someone claiming to be a prince is trapped somewhere, contacts you begging for money, and when they escape their captors, they'll return the money doubled. But what if someone reaches out to you claiming to be a long-lost relative and offers you a hefty inheritance? I think that's a scenario we've all fantasized about happening. But what if it turns out to be just another scam? And that scam leads to murder. Today, we're going to explore the very recent case of Stephen Edward Riley Jr., the victim of one such scam, and even worse, murder. It's time to take a deep breath and let the fresh air in. Hi everyone, welcome if you're new and welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Erin and I am fascinated by all things cults, true crime, and unique spiritual practices. On True Crime Tuesdays, I like to explore a true crime case, and on Spiritual Saturdays, I take a look at a cult or extreme religion that I find interesting. And I'm giving you all a bonus third video on Thursdays this November and December, so please stick around for that. And if you're interested in this type of content, please consider subscribing. I would absolutely love to have you here. And I'm open to suggestions too, so if there's a case or a cult you'd like to see a video about, please leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to take a look at it. And I like to recommend a book at the beginning of my videos, so today's book is The Wrong Family. And I've recommended this book before, but I'm a big fan of it. It's gripping. It's about a homeless woman that somehow finds her way into this rich family's house and kind of just like decides to stick around and sneak around. So she like hears all their secrets and eventually discovers that perhaps she picked the wrong family. So highly recommend. And if you have a review for this book, please leave a comment down below. Now, let's jump right into this case. Now, it is currently an open investigation, and y'all know I love to speculate, but out of respect for Stephen and his family and the investigators, I'm going to try to refrain from doing so and only provide the facts as we know them. But please note, I do include my opinions on this case, so just be cautious of that. I'll also leave all my resources down below, so if you want to take a closer look at this case, please feel free to do so. I actually highly recommend everyone always doing their own research. A few months ago, prior to September 3rd, 2023, Stephen Edward Riley Jr. was contacted via email by a lawyer who represented a long-lost relative of his. For whatever reason, this mysterious relative wanted to give Stephen, a man who had never heard of this relative before, a very hefty inheritance. We're talking $30 million hefty. Obviously, Stephen was elated by this news. I mean, his entire life would change. He was currently living in the small town of Minot, North Dakota, just 50 miles south of the Canadian border. And according to 2021 data, the town has less than 48,000 people living there. It's an Air Force town, so most of the people living there are employed by the U.S. Air Force. It's a small, tight-knit community, typically considered a safe place for families. So when Stephen was found dead and potentially murdered, this small town was shaken. Stephen was so excited about his inheritance. I mean, everybody knew about it. He shared the good news with his friends, his son Ryan, and his girlfriend Thea Knoyer, aged 47. The couple was known to have a tumultuous relationship. It seemed to be on and off again, and Thea was prone to some cryptic posts on Facebook, and a lot of people were pretty concerned by these. This often happened when the couple was on the outs. She once posted a picture of him with the caption, "Watch out for this man, he'll bleed you dry and spit you out." The caption on a different picture of him read, "I wish I was worried about this man." Ryan, one of Stephen's 5 sons, would later say that the couple was unhappy, saying, and I quote, "My dad wanted to leave her for a while. She just never worked and was leeching off of him. She was extremely lazy and never did anything. My dad was a very caring person and would go out of his way to help those around him," unquote. So, when Stephen was contacted about this multi-million dollar inheritance, allegedly their relationship became even more complicated. Allegedly, they became concerned that Stephen would take the money and leave her or just run out of town. And there's no way that Thea was going to let that happen. On September 3rd of 2023, Stephen headed out to the airport where he was supposed to meet this so-called lawyer of his long-lost relative and collect the check for $30 million. I know. Imagine someone calls you up and says, "Hey, let's meet. I have a $30 million check to give you." Like, what? But on his way to the airport, Stephen began to feel a little sick. A friend of his noticed that something was going on with him. He just seemed a little off, a little ill. But Stephen just claimed that it had to have been heat stroke. He was going to get that money from that lawyer no matter what. He had big plans. He was going to split it between him and his sons and buy a larger piece of land. He was so excited. So you can imagine that when he arrived at the airport and this lawyer was nowhere to be found, it was absolutely devastating to him. He was forced to turn around and head back to his unhappy home where his disgruntled girlfriend was waiting for him. While he was at the airport, a friend reported seeing his girlfriend tossing Stephen's property outside. Apparently, they knew of Stephen's grand plan. He was going to collect the money and leave her. But she had already put her plan on how she was going to get a chunk of that money into action. To her surprise, Stephen came home empty-handed but sick, having been encouraged by his friends to go home and rest. The next day, on September 4th, authorities were called to the home. Stephen was found unresponsive and was rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, he would pass the following day. Due to the suspicions surrounding Stephen's sudden death, an autopsy would be conducted. The autopsy report would conclude that large amounts of ethylene glycol, one of the main ingredients of antifreeze, was found in his system. It was then that his cause of death was ruled as poisoning. This led investigators to go search the house that he was living in with his girlfriend, and what they found was nothing short of disgusting and disturbing. Allegedly, the house was in bad condition. There was dog feces throughout the home, trash everywhere, and dirty clothes were just thrown about. Investigators also found an open bottle of Windex that had a green liquid in it that would later be proven to be antifreeze. Now, don't go getting any messed up ideas, but apparently antifreeze has a sort of sweet taste to it, so it's easy to mix with sweeter drinks. So later, when Thea confessed to mixing antifreeze with Steve's sweet tea the morning of September 3rd, there was absolutely no question as to what her motive was. She told police that she knew about the inheritance and she intended on getting her half. She claimed that because of how long her and Stephen had lived together, they were technically in a common law marriage, so upon his death, she was entitled to half. And the fact that she said this to police is almost comical to me. Like, do you really think police are going to be like, "Oh, sure, you're guilty of murder, but here's $15 million. You're welcome"? Like, no, that's not going to happen. And apparently, before she even spoke with police, she was alleging and talking about him drinking antifreeze. So I think we've established that she perhaps is not the brightest bulb in the shop. And I'm sure it comes as no surprise that when she learned that North Dakota does not actually recognize common law marriages, she was absolutely shocked. And police actually used the term incensed. Like, this woman was livid. And it's like, lady, maybe do a little research before you murder your boyfriend for money. I mean, that might be information you might want to know if, that's your motive for murder. I mean, the fact that she thought she could get away with this in the first place is shocking to me, let alone not get away with it and still be able to collect millions of dollars. Is just amazing to me. It just doesn't seem real that she could somehow think she must be doing mental gymnastics in her head to try to rationalize her actions. Right? Did she really think that one, the poison would not be detectable in his system? Two, that she's admitting to murdering him and saying, "Well, don't I get half of this money?" No, you don't. It doesn't compute. The rationale for me is just not there. So she was charged with the most severe murder charge in North Dakota, Class AA felony murder. She is currently in jail on a $1 million bond and is due in court next month. So just let me know if you'd like an update on this case at that time, and I will try my best to collect as much information as I can to provide you with this update. This case is it's so strange for so many reasons, and I don't mean to make my I don't want to come off as flippant at all in how I'm reacting to her. I think it's partly frustration and shock that someone would be so calculated to murder someone for money that seems so clearly to be from a scam, but it's also just like it's so tragic that this happened, and it's so frustrating that she like still thought she was going to get away with it. Like she was so able to justify her actions because she wanted money, and it's just disgusting and sad, and I really really feel for Steven's family and for his sons. Like his sons must be just so devastated and so angry. So we have this internet scam that leads to a disgruntled lover, which leads to murder. And I don't know if that's something you'd like me to cover on this channel. Like, I'm just fascinated by scams, and I've been a victim to one once before. So I'd love to just explore more money scams on my channel, even though it's not necessarily like super murdery. But honestly, this is just all such a sad turn of events. And one could also argue that the scammer is the one to blame, because if they hadn't faked this mysterious relative for whatever reason, like what were you gaining from it? Stephen might still be alive today. And I also can't imagine being in the headspace to just murder for money, especially when you claim you love someone. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And to just expect a payout still is just so delusional to me. And honestly, I hope she stays in jail for the rest of her life. And it's just really sad too, because when we hear of a woman poisoning her partner, it's oftentimes to them like justified because it's the only way to get out of a domestically violent situation, or it's like a scorned lover situation. But the fact that this motive was just purely selfish, just for money, that turned out to be fake, I don't know. For some reason, it just seems even extra tragic to me. And again, honestly, this case just makes me angry. It makes me angry. It makes me angry for Steven. It makes me angry for the family. He was probably so excited to change his life, and his family was probably happy for him. I just all my love and prayers to the friends and family of Steven. So I'd love to hear your thoughts below. I know this was a short one. I know I kind of got a little ranty. I don't know why this one makes me so frustrated. And I was just really interested in this case. And, it showed me too that there's been an uptick in poisonings in the United States lately. And so I think that's something I want to dive a little bit more into. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them below. And please remember, do not believe an online scam, a phone scam, a text scam, anything. It's if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And again, please send your thoughts and prayers to Steven's family and friends, because this is a really difficult, angering time for them, and they really need all of the support they can get. Thank you again so much for watching and supporting my channel. And remember, please stay safe out there. Please be respectful in the comments, and check out all of the information down in the description of this video. You can find all my resources there, and you can do a little more research if you're interested more in this case. So until next time, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week. Goodbye.